Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Hi, welcome. Shout out to, I'm gonna go in order from who commented first. Shout out to Jennifer. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Summer. Shout out to Elia. Shout out to CJ. Shout out to Mary. Thank you, Mary. Shout out to LaKayla. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. What font? I don't know. I don't know how I write, if there's like a specific font. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Helen. Shout out to Samari. Shout out to Lydia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Winter. Shout out to Sodia. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Molly. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Bryn. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Robin. Shout out to Divya. Shout out to Barrett or Barat. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aska. Fozzie. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Eli. Shout out to Soul. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Chrissy. Shout out to Wesley. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Richie. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Liv. Shout out to Banana. Shout out to Benaya. Shout out to Joshua. Shout out to Chrissy, thank you. Benaya, I got you. Shout out to Minji, thank you. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Catherine, thank you. Shout out to Leon. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Raya. Shout out to Nimrod. Shout out to Samim. Shout out to Lizzie. Shout out to Maeve. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Phoenix. Oops. Phoenix, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Mel. Shout out to Elizabeth. Shout out to Wendy. Shout out to Maria Ripley. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Evie. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Whitney. Shout out to Iofi or Iof. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Simi. Shout out to Lupita. Shout out to Devu. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to Finley. Shout out to Cedar. Shout out to Capri. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Cedar, happy birthday. Shout out to Camille. Shout out to Mateo. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Briar. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Liliana. Shout out to Aman. Shout out to Rosha. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Lucia. Shout out to Cassie. Shout out to Andrea. Shout out to Elite. Shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to Marie. Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Avo. Shout out to Faith. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 50 likes. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna go grab water. Okay, thank you for your patience. Thank you for waiting. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Gnarly. Shout out to Moscow. Shout out to Trent. Shout out to Amand. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Avery and Sadie. Shout out to Capria. Bad girl. Shout out to Eloa. Shout out to Audrina. Happy birthday, Audrina. Shout out to Kimber. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Leave a like. Let's try to get to 50 likes, please. Shout out to Campbell. Shout out to Rihanna, or Riona. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Anandu. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Nikki. Whoops. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Manisha. Shout out to Shell. Shout out to Hunter. Shout out to Skies. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nathan. Shout out to Isabelli. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Emmanuel. Shout out to Kira, or Kiera. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. On to the next page. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Trent. Shout out to Kiera Lee. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to Anne. Shout out to Abrielle. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Shelly. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Shelly. Oh, I already put Shelly. Shout out to Sari. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Louisa. Shout out to Ella. Oh, I already put Ella. Shout out to Sophia. Shout Shout out to Lavender. Shout out to Alon. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Vea, or V. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Roisha, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Annika. Shout out to Kier Bear. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Russell. Shout out to Kiwi. Shout out to Simon. Shout out to Gia. Shout out to Levi. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Marcos. Shout out to Joelle. Shout out to Navi. Shout out to Alyssa. Thank you, Navi, for subscribing. Shout out to Navi. Shout out to Cloudy. Shout out to Elena. Or Alina. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Ava. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. Shout out to Helen. Shout out to Andre. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Christopher. Shout out to Joyce. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Aina. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Kelsey. Shout out to Kieran. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Priya. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 50 likes. Shout out to Lila. Shout out to Deepti. Shout out to Leah. Hi, Emma. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Valeska. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to April. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Ayla. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Nimra Kaur. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Carl. Shout out to Aldrin. Shout out to Kira. Shout out to Kira Lee. Shout out to Kier Bear. Shout out to Kiwi. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Erin. Shout out to Carl. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Kaiying. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nova. Shout out to Josh. Shout out to Alistair. Shout out to Terrence. Shout out to Nyla. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mimi. Shout out to Aileen or Ellen. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mim Lee. Shout out to Clara. Shout out to Lucifer. Shout out to Kaish. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rhea Ripley. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Oliver. Shout out to Kaimani. Shout out to Kara. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to Mensch. Shout out to Kara. Shout out to Cynthia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Celia. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. On to the next page. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Betty. Shout out to Brinley. Thank you, Celia. Shout out to Celia. Shout out to Shaylee. Shout out to Altea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nimrat. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Blake. Shout out to Manon. Shout out to Lauren. Shout out to Arian. Shout out to Harvey. I kind of messed up the R. Let me write it again. Shout out to Harvey. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to King Dave. Shout out to Hanny. Shout out to Kenya. Shout out to Annie. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Queen. Shout out to Cassidy. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Neely. Shout out to Nyla. Shout out to Giselle. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Mensch. Shout out to Farin. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Rylan. Shout out to Holland. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 50 likes. Only one more like. Shout out to Rylan, I got you. Shout out to Harvey and Kira. Shout out to Ryland. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Nilly. Shout out to Terrain. Shout out to Arlene. Shout out to Gabby. Thank you for 50 likes. Shout out to Elvin. Shout out to Nyla. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Wesley. Shout out to Kira Lee. Shout out to Harvey. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Chuck. Thank you, Stella, for subscribing. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Annabella. No, shout out to Annabelle. Thank you, Annabelle. Shout out to Emily. Thank you, Emily. Shout out to Cade. Shout out to Chuck. Whoops. Shout out to Sonia. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Joaquina. Shout out to Julieta. Shout out to Sadie. Oh, Sadie, I got you. Shout out to Chuck Scribbles. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Fahim. Shout out to Chance. Shout out to Shane. Shout out to Marcos. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Tommy. Shout out to Catalina. Shout out to Sarai. Shout out to Briar. Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Annalisa. Shout out to JJ. Shout out to Angela. Oh, I got Angela. Shout out to Tiana. Shout out to Sarai. Shout out to Tina. Shout out to Farah. Shout out to Sigma. Shout out to Amora. Shout out to Alexis. I got Sigma. Shout out to Marissa. Shout out to Marco. Shout out to Celeste. Shout out to Alba. Shout out to Julian. Shout out to... Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 60 likes. Shout out to Derek. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Suda. Shout out to Macy. Shout out to Chalaya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ness. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Dana. and hearts. Shout out to William. Shout out to Advika. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Sage. Shout out to Ethan. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Wesley. Shout out to Shermie. Shout out to Eve. Shout out to Blossom. Shout out to Owen. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. On to the next page. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Blossom. Oh my goodness, I messed up the S. Let me write it again. Shout out to Blossom. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Malaysia. Shout out to Brindley. Shout out to Ash. Shout out to Elianis. Shout out to Ash. I already put Ash. Shout out to Helena. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Adriel. Shout out to Samuel. Shout out to Blueberry. Shout out to Maggie. Shout out to Astrid. Shout out to Sky B. Shout out to Kyle. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Wanhee. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Tyson. Shout out to Yoselin. Shout out to Darlet. Shout out to Aubrey. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Adriana. Shout out to Mariella. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. I'm doing shout outs. If you want a shout out, write your name in the chat. Shout out to Frankie. Shout out to Katsai. Shout out to Liviani. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Yunche. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Bo Ray. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Mario. Shout out to Anmo. Shout out to Kenny. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Eliana. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Gwen. Shout out to Bentley. Shout out to Arna. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Catherine. Shout out to Iris. to Bryson Jones. Shout out to Isaiah. What's your name? Shar Roberts? Diosha? Let me know if I wrote it correctly. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Menchie. Shout out to Mario. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Yori. Can you show me how to spell it? Roberts? Sorry. Shout out to Ireland. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sophia. Dio Shar Roberts. Can you show me how to spell your name? Please. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Nevea. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Catherine. Nevea. Oh, thank you for showing me how to spell your name. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Nevea. Shout out to Alice. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lalif too. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Danelli. Shout out to Stray Kids. Shout out to Awesome. Shout out to Brinley. Shout out to Ahmad Khan. Shout out to Felix. Shout out to my Tasha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sana. Shout out to Nyla. Shout out to Honduras. Shout out to Ahmad Khan. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Leiko. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to The Fun 6. Shout out to Icons. Shout out to Nini. Give me 30 seconds, I'll be right back. Shout out to Chaka Blau. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Blanca. Shout out to May. Shout out to Iconic. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Thomas. Shout out to Monse. Shout out to Julfia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Daisy. Shout out to Rowan. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Cindy. Shout out to Donna or Dana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Tehaya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alessia. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Naeem. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Iman. Shout out to Echo. Shout out to Gnarly. Shout out to Amor. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to Olivia. Oh, I already popped Olivia. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Debut. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Amora. Or Amara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Elijah. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ben. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Abarca. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. I also post other content on my channel, so I hope you can go check it out and support. Thank you so much for being here. On to the next page. I think this is the last page. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Tenley. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Cicely. Shout out to Mia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kaing. Shout out to Debut. Shout out to Rafi. I put Debut here. Shout out to Isai. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Liam. Shout out to Kaish. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Abarca. Shout out to DJ. Shout out to Jayla or Jaila. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Reina or Rena. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Remus. Shout out to Jenica. Shout out to Dia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to... Thank you, Erica. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Bella. We're almost at 100 likes, only 2 likes away. Please like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Rana. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Rana, I got you. Shout out to Chloe. Thank you for 100 likes. Shout out to Miriam. Shout out to Dejana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Trent. Shout out to Stitch. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my shout outs. I hope we can get to maybe 120 likes, 120. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Cora. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Blackpink. Shout out to Elisa. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Trini. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Tiara. Shout out to Jisoo. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Spaghetti. Shout out to Camille. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Joel. Shout out to Arissa. Shout out to Brinley. Shout out to Prisha. Shout out to Nora with an H. Shout out to Chewan. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Dana. Shout out to Kripa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Runa. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Red Rider. Shout out to Sunakshi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ivory. Shout out to Katsai. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to K-pop. Whoops, I forgot to change colors. Shout out to Suhani. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ezra. Shout out to Sasini. Shout out to Julie. Shout out to Thank you, Erica. Thank you for 110 likes. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Saba. Shout out to BTS. Shout out to Anti-Fragile. Shout out to Moscow. Shout out to Blossom. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Fatin. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rizwan. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Yetsin. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to Yuri. Shout out to Cassie. Shout out to Rizzy. Shout out to Michaela. Shout out to Paul. Shout out to Tiara. Shout out to Gloria. Shout out to Paul, I got you. Shout out to Yassine. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophie. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Narish. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to Nyla. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Thank you, Teresa, for subscribing. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to Gabriella. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Naraya. Shout out to Jamie. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Ami. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to Amia. Shout out to Lenny. Excuse me. Shout out to Samaya or Samia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Josue. Shout out to Messiah or Messia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Kane. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to is it Tunita? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sanaya. Shout out to Meenakshi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nat. Shout out to Lavender. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Sismia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to leave your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Cole. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Mira. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Alexis. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Wendy. Shout out to Gwen. Shout out to Touch. Shout out to, thank you, Lavender. Shout out to America. Shout out to Laura. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. Laura, I got you. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Lennon. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Lennon, I got you. Shout out to Jamie. Shout out to London. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Teresa. Shout out to Costina. I'm gonna put Costina over here. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Eaton. Shout out to Zorro. Shout out to Erin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Phoebe. Shout out to Ricky. Shout out to Kiana. Shout out to Shyla or Shayla. Shout out to Gracie. Shout out to Moon. Shout out to Vicky. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Lysica. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. Also, I post other content that I hope you can check out as well and support. Please subscribe. I live stream every day. And thank you so much for taking the time to write your name out and spending the time with me. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next time. Please subscribe so you know when I live stream. Bye. Take care. Have a great day or have a great night. Bye.